My name is Shantell Martin, and I'm the host of What's the Point? This is a conversation series dedicated to exploring why artists create art and the forces that influence us. Join me as I sit down with artists and friends to talk about their reasons for doing what they do and why they continue to create. I'm super excited to introduce today's guest, Lyndon Barrois. Lyndon is an animation director, filmmaker, and artist, and he's worked on films like The Matrix, The Thing, and Happy Feet, among many others. He is also known for his ongoing sculptural series, It's a Rapper, where he creates figures and stop-motion animations using gum wrappers. Lyndon's work has been featured in major institutions across the United States and way beyond. Not only is his work imaginative, innovative, and resourceful, but he has developed a whole aesthetic and nostalgia that is connected to it. Please welcome my friend, Lyndon. It's so nice to have you here.
It's so good to be here with you.
You're one of my favorite people in the whole of LA, so it's nice to have you here.
Wow. I hope I live up to that. Thank you.
No, you already have.
Likewise.
You've
You're one of mine.
lived up to it. You've already lived up to it.
Wow.
So you're an incredible artist as well as many things.
Wow.
I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your background today and how you got to where you are and, you know, some kind of ins and outs along the way. And to kick us off, I'd love to hear a little bit about your first introduction to art or even to animation.
Wow. I mean, to art, that's a really... Oh, that's a deep one because, growing up in New Orleans, you're exposed to it all the time, even if you're not even aware of it subconsciously. It's just everywhere. So, my uncle was an artist on my mom's side. And, we just did it all throughout school. I mean, when you're in grammar school, on Mardi Gras season, one of the assignments is to make floats. So, you make them out of shoe boxes. And just whatever. So you're like I say, you're just surrounded with it. And then growing up, it's just something that I always just felt compelled to do. Not even knowing what road to take to be it, but, eventually finding out. But, it's just something I always knew that I wanted to do because I always made things out of, clay and aluminum foil and phone wire and, bubble gum off church pews. Whatever I got my hands on, and I always drew, so, and just something I just never stopped doing. And then, in college, I took some classes in community college, commercial art, and while I was doing that, I actually got some posters published. And then got a scholarship to Xavier, and then got my BFA at Xavier and studied under John Scott, who was just an outstanding artist and sculptor, like just, New Orleans treasure. And he was the first MacArthur Genius Grant that I had known personally. He won it while I was a student of his, and it was just mind-blowing to see that. And just from his mentorship and his teaching, just, I'll never forget, he always taught us, and I say this to people I mentor now, that I'm going to teach you, I'm going to give you and teach you everything I know. Because when you graduate, you're my competition. And I want you to be ready. And so he was just that selfless and just giving us everything. I just internalized that.
Wow.
It was deep.
So you said your uncle on your mum's side. So did you have a lot of interaction with your uncle growing up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He was always around?
Yeah, a lot of, lessons I would get taught by him because he also taught he taught art in high school at Old Perry Walker High School. And he'd teach me things, and when he would, have float assignments where he'd paint floats, he'd take me and I would do that stuff. And then he also was a florist, so, he just did a lot of floral design. So, he just, watching him teach, watching him paint, watching him, do float stuff and all this stuff, and, even with his family. He had artwork all around the house. So, you know that, and then we another person that we another guy I grew up knowing, who was a friend of, who lived next door to where my mom grew up, you know, in the 7th Ward on St. Anthony Street. His name was Mitchell LaFrance. We used to call him Mimi, and Mimi was a duck carver. And Mimi carved duck decoys out of balsa wood, and were spectacular.
A duck carver?
Mm-hmm.
So like the actual animal duck?
Literal ducks, yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, mallards and stuff. And they were for hunters. So when you put them in the water as decoys, the ducks will come and, you know, their target.
Wow.
But that's what Mimi did. And he was a really famous duck carver. You know, he's in books and things, and a lot of things written about him. And we just always knew him as Mimi. He lived into his 90s. But that's what he did. He was a duck carver. And he was just a casual guy. Just go over and just watch him do it. And he was the nicest guy ever. You know, his wife would come out and give you stuff. And, you know, you're just a kid watching this. You know, you just don't realize the people you're around and how much influence they have on you.
And do you think he realized he was making art?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, he was a master.
Yeah.
He was a master carver. Oh, yeah, because he'd carve them and paint them, and they were beautiful.
That's amazing. And for people that aren't that familiar with New Orleans, and I'm one of those, tell us a little bit about the culture of making floats. Like, when do they do it? Why do they do it? Who's doing it?
It's all Mardi Gras tradition. Okay. So, I mean, you know, this goes back, you know, century-old tradition. Yeah. So, you know, like, centuries, because, you know, 1700s or whatever. But it was just because Mardi Gras, you know, it's... As decadent as New Orleans is, I mean, Mardi Gras is really a religious holiday because it's the Bacchanal before the 40 days of Lent, you know, before Easter. So, you know, you just get rid of all your inhibitions, you know, before, so you could, you know, repent, I guess. It's the weirdest thing. Mm-hmm. I just like, okay, what are we doing here? But anyway, so it's a tradition, and it's pageantry and all that stuff. So the weeks leading up to Mardi Gras Day, I mean, you know, you just have all these assignments where you're just making floats. So, like I say, you take shoeboxes or whatever, and you just decorate them with all kinds of things. And so, you know, old beads, toys, whatever, and then it would be contests.
And you're making like mini floats?
You're making
that's
mini floats.
Oh, yeah. That's so fun.
You make mini floats, yeah.
And kids still probably do that today.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's a thing, yeah.
And so you said, you know, you were making mini floats as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said Xavier,
yeah.
Xavier, what's the
Xavier?
The
X is silent.
Wait, what's that?
Xavier University.
I don't know it.
You don't know Xavier?
No.
Yeah, Xavier. It's an HBCU in New Orleans. Xavier University,
okay.
Louisiana. Yeah, it's a Catholic university, but you know it's a black university. So and they're really, I mean, heavy tradition. And founded by the SBS, Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament.
And when did you go there?
I was there in 87 and 90. Yeah, I went a few years after high school. You know, like I said, I did Delgado for a while and worked in graphics for a while, doing different things, and then got a scholarship and went back and, you know, figured, let me just buckle on and get my BFA.
Yeah, and what was your BFA in?
Art, fine arts.
In fine arts.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's funny because I've had a few conversations where we're like, you know, fine arts for rich kids and, you know, graphic design and the other industries are for, you know, like when you get a real job. So for you going into fine art, what were your intentions with it? And, you know, what gave you the thought that, you know, you could go into the arts?
Well, to be an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, I was completely to be an artist, whether it was going to be a commercial artist or an exhibition artist. I was going to be an artist, you know, hands down. And, you know, another thing that I had like I say, it's just weird. The things you're not aware of, the people you're not aware of that you grew up with, you know, my whole life, one of our next door neighbors was this woman named Rose and Miss Ruby. They lived in this big house, this big yard, you know, like two houses down from us. And I was in Miss Ruby's house one day, and I'm not sure why even I was there. Maybe I was talking to her, you know, Sandra, her daughter, you know, because the three of them were living there. And I saw this painting. It's this gorgeous oil painting of this black woman. And I just like, wow, who did that? And she said, oh, I did that, honey. It's a self-portrait. And it just blew my mind because I'm going, you have that skill and you're not a practicing artist. I could not understand that concept, but you paint that beautifully, and I never knew that. And I'm just getting the chills just thinking about it. When I saw that portrait, I was just like, how does someone do this and not do it? You know what I mean? And so, but, different circumstances, like I say, she was, obviously decades older than me, but in the time she grew up, like, that was unheard of for, anyone to be an artist, but even Black women to, like, even think about having a career in art. But it was such a spectacular piece of work. It was museum quality. And I'm just going, I've got to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For someone like that and the work that they created, what do you imagine happened to all that work, the beautiful work that she probably created?
I think her daughter still has the piece because I asked about it when we talk, and she said, "Oh yeah, I have it. It's still in the house." And it's like, because she's not in New Orleans anymore.
Yeah.
When she moved, she took it with her. Her mom and grandmother passed, but I thank God that she hasn't preserved it. She appreciates what it is because it is a stunning piece of work.
Wow, and it made an impression on you.
Yeah, I will never forget it. Yeah.
And so, what do you think you learned going to Xavier?
I learned so much. I mean, look, John was such an outstanding fundamentalist teacher. I mean, and we did everything, drawing, painting, sculpture, ceramics, printmaking, the whole shebang. He taught us everything over those 4 years, over the 3 years I was there. And yeah, it was just an unbelievable education in the fundamentals of art, practical design and how that relates to any other form of art and life itself, how art internalizes, how art tells stories, how art is history, how art records, and then just the appreciation of it, like drawing the human figure from the bones to the muscles to the skin, outward. Everything was from inside out, from the whole to the part. It was just an outstanding education, and he did that approach he took to everything. His graphics, his printmaking, his sculpture, I mean, everything. And it's odd that everything I was learning, from John, I didn't realize how much I was actually infusing into my personal miniatures, the gum wrapper miniatures. I had no idea, because that's something I started when I was a kid, like 10 or 11, and just trying to make drivers to put in Hot Wheels cars. And so I had so much fun doing it, I just never stopped doing it. And I didn't realize what I was learning from John. Like, you see the evolution of these things go from like these real amorphic things to actual little people. I was learning all that from him and just putting it in there, learning all proportion and, the anatomy and proportion and all these things, color when I would paint them, all this stuff. And yeah, it was just an invaluable education. Yeah.
So fast forward from that education, as you mentioned, you're making, these incredible miniature people sculptures out of gum wrappers. And, then you're animating them, kind of exhibiting them.
Yeah, well, John was the one who actually made me realize it was an art form. It was John Scott. And so, because when when you have your year-end show, your final show is coming up, so your senior show. I was trying to figure out what was I going to do. Am I going to do some drawings, some paintings, some graphics? Because, I had experience in all three, and I'm not, I wasn't like a master, but I was good enough and learned enough from John to actually figure out which one of these things, or which part of those are even a combination to do my show. And I just had this idea, because I shot all these pictures of these. I made teams. I remember it was Pittsburgh and Washington. I made teams and actually lined them up on the field. I made a whole field of everything. I'm telling you, I was fanatical about this. And again, I was just making toys for myself. So I brought it to him. I showed it to him. Like, I showed him the pictures, and then I brought the miniatures to school because I just wanted to get his idea on, like, if I have this idea to try to, like, exhibit these, what did he think? It could be crazy. And he looked at him and he went, dude, I don't think you know what you're sitting on. Like, this is sculpture. Like, what are you not understanding? You know? And he just really, and I just like, huh? What are you talking about? He said, Lyndon, this is an art form. Like, what you're doing here, I've never even seen this. Like, you've been here all this time and you've never shown this to, I had no idea. And he's like, this is something you have to exhibit. And so then I said, oh, okay, well, shit, if John thinks this, then this is something real. So then I had the idea to like try to do a Super Bowl show. The Super Bowl was coming to town in '90. And so I said, well, shit, I'm going to try to do a show for the Super Bowl. And so I designed, it was Super Bowl 24, so I designed dioramas to recreate great moments from the previous 23 games. And me and a buddy, Danny Wilson, one of my best friends, you may have met Danny at the party.
Yeah.
We hit the street in New Orleans looking for a gallery.
And what year is this? Just for context?
This was 89.
89.
89, yeah. Because the game was coming in 90, so, you gotta, and, not knowing the whole gallery and system and all that stuff, just like, they need months in advance and all this shit. I'm just like, shit, man, somebody's got to show this.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a bunch of no's, but then one person, Jana Napoli, who ran Yaya at the time, was Young Artists, Young Aspirations, had a gallery on Barois Street in the Warehouse District where she, did the training with the students and they did all their artwork. And she had Danny, welcomed us in just right off the street. And, she looked at everything and she listened to everything. She said, I'm sold, honey. I'm sold. She said, you can have your show. You can do whatever you want here under one condition. I said, what? She said, you come and work with my kids. I said, well, shit, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, done. And that was it. And we've all been friends ever since.
Yaya was the name?
Yeah.
That's such a great name.
Young Artists, Young Aspirations. It's awesome, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Did incredible work. And had the show and immediately started working with the kids.
And so that was back in 89, 90.
That was 89, 90, yeah.
And so since then, tell us, like, what have you done and what's been the evolution of the gum wrappers, the sculptures?
Yeah, so working, when I graduated, I taught art in high school. Yeah, of all places, Xavier Prep in New Orleans, an all-girls Catholic high school. That was an experience. So I did that for a year, and after the year after I did that, I went on staff at Yaya and worked with them for a year and change. As the production manager, training the kids to get all their work done and all that. And I had gotten a lot of press for that Super Bowl show. It was really popular. And so Ripley's, believe it or not, bought a bunch of those sculptures. And some collectors bought them also. May have a handful of them around that I know where they are. And I had also applied to some grad schools because I was thinking of communication design, because I just love graphics. And I just love that stuff. Graphics, typography, all that shit. I just love that. And even wrote a letter to Milton Glaser in New York just to get his advice on my work. And he responded. Blew my mind. But I had gotten rejected from those schools. And Milton's advice, was like, I still have that letter. And he said, in his kindest way, he said, your work is fine, but I want you to realize how competitive New York is. So in his kindest way, telling me I'm not ready. Mm. And I didn't take it personally. I just understood. I get it, and so I just know what I got to do. And that's again, it's these lessons you tell people now. You have to understand your competition, how competitive you are. Because people are telling you most of your life, oh, that's beautiful, it's great. That's great to have that encouragement, but they don't always know the difference. You know what I mean? And Milton, in his kindest way, said that. And the schools and the other schools that I was applying to, I got rejected from. And Jana said, honey, you're applying to all the wrong places for all the wrong things. She dropped the catalog in my lap and said, "This is the place you need to be." And it was Cal Arts. Yeah. And I had not even known about the school. Because another thing, I had always loved film and animation.
Yeah.
And always had that dream. I remember being in 4th grade and drawing backlots in my notebooks. You know, the manila folders in between to separate all the subjects. I would draw backlots, like wall partitions, cameras, lights, all this thing. Because something about filmmaking and just being a director and all this, it just jazzed me. And then stop motion animation I just loved, you know. Because it wasn't, it's not the whole Star Wars thing that got me into this and, you know, all these, you know, special effects films. It was like dramas and just like really like, you know, appreciating like story and just, you know, it's a thing. You don't know what, you know, makes something good or bad. You just know if you like it or not. And so I was always drawn to this stuff. And when she dropped Cal Arts into my lap and I read it and I was like, oh, okay, man, this is the place I need to be. And not having done any animation, I did a whole storyboard of a film that I wanted to do with my miniatures at Cal Arts because that's part of the application process. And between that and then the miniatures themselves and the show I had, Cal Arts said, if he's crazy enough to attempt this, he's admitted. So I got in, and the rest is that. Yeah, I went with the distinct intention of going there and learning how to animate these miniatures, actually bring them to life and see them play like I always wanted to do. But then try to start, you know, It's a Rapper Films to make commercials and films and short films and all this stuff. And while I was at Cal Arts, I came really close to doing things for NFL films and the NBA. They didn't come out, but, you know, it didn't pan out, but I came close. And then, but I also, upon graduation, wanted to see my name on the screen. And so I pursued feature films to get my name on the screen. Because, you know, you drive around, you see posters and billboards and, you know, shit, I want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if so many people do that work, why can't I be one of them? And so I just chased that. And yeah.
And what was the results of chasing
The result's been 21 feature films, you know, if not more, because maybe some of them I did uncredited. But yeah. That, some VS Award nominations, you know, part of the Matrix trilogy, I mean, the Academy, I mean, all this stuff. So it's been a hell of a ride.
Wow.
And I've worked as a character animator and an animation director on these feature films. And I'm even had directed an episode of the PJs, so, you know, stop motion show. So it all panned out.
What's PJs?
It was PJs with a show, a Fox show that was created by Eddie Murphy, Larry Wilmore, and what's Tompkins? Steve Tompkins. I'm sorry, Steve Tompkins. Yeah, and it was a show on Fox. It was a half-hour animated show, primetime show, and it was on at Will Vinton Studios, which is now Leica. You know, but that's what it was before. And the guys who created the California Raisins and all that stuff. Yeah. So I got to direct one of those episodes. I had a great episode. It was an episode with Jackie Chan called The Last African American Hero. It was awesome.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to like remember that so I can see that.
Yeah.
That's quite a dream, you know, being a young student and seeing other people's names on the screen and being like, I want that to be me. And then 20 plus feature films later, your name has been on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, when you reflect on that, what comes up?
I guess, you know, I feel good and proud to have done it because I set out to do it and I did it. And I did it at a very competitive and high level. You know, I took everything that was taught to me by John and by Jules, my mentor, Jules Engel, my mentor at Cal Arts, and personalized it, internalized it, and then saw it through. You know, so whether the films were hits or misses, you know, whether they, you know, hits or bombs, whatever, I was always proud of the work that I did on them, and even the commercials. I did a lot of commercials too. I was always proud of the work I did because, you know, you want to be able to show that stuff on your demo reel, you know, because, you know, work gets more work, and you gotta, you know, it's a visual thing, so you have to show what you can do. And I just wanted to be proud of everything I put on that reel to show this is what I do, and this is what I've done, and this is what I can do, you know? So yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a blast working around. I've traveled a lot. I've worked around the world, you know, spent time in Sydney, Australia, you know, Mexico on different shoots, Vancouver, I commuted for 4 years, you know, working in Portland, working in the Bay Area, you know, all over. And it's just been the amount of people you meet, the friendships you make, the net, the wide net you cast in terms of, you know, connections and, you know, people that you just, you know, and experiences that are invaluable, you won't forget, whether they're good or bad, because there's highs and lows. You know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know, it was all a dream. There were highs and lows because it's hard work and it's very intense, but it's fun. And the whole thing is just keep it fun. My main focus in anything I've done was to be fun. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. You know me. I'm just not.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun.
I'm curious, little Lyndon, you know, when you were like quite small and then as kind of more of a young student, what were you like? Were you like playful, sociable, serious? Like what kind of kid and young kid were you?
I think all of the above. I had a lot of friends, but I'd also be like, well, you were such an introvert. You didn't talk to me, man. It's not that I didn't talk, I was just observant. I always liked to see things out before I jumped in. And then I remember times where I would just get vocal out of nowhere and be like, you know, that. I remember one time in high school, you know, when you're changing classes, you know, from one to the other when the bell rings. And I remember standing outside of one class one time with my class behind me. And the teacher in the previous class was taking so long with this lesson, even after the bell rang. And I just was like knocking on the window for them to get out of there so we can get in there, you know, and start doing our work. And I was like, dude, relax. Because what are you doing? And I was like, what? Shit, I want to get in the class. So you just never know where these things come from. Maybe that's my Gemini brain. I don't know. But just little things that you just don't forget. But yeah, no, I do remember being quiet a lot, and just like I said, it's just observant. It's not that I was not shy it's not that I was shy or didn't want to talk or, you know, be sociable. I was just observing things, you know, before I would dive in, you know.
And then, so when you went to Cal Arts, was that a similar kind of theme within who you were? Because then you're kind of getting into animation, which is kind of a solitude like activity.
Yeah, it is. It's an isolating activity. And even then, yeah, you know, because, you know, you're in class and getting all the lessons in class, but then you have to go off by yourself and, you know, practice that stuff and do the work yourself. So it can be, and, you know, and then, you know, when you're doing it on the pencil test machines and, you know, shooting on 16 millimeter, you know, with Bolex cameras, you know, all this was before digital, because this was 92 to 95. It's so weird how much we've seen technology change just over 30 years, how far it's gone. And yeah, so even thinking about that then, how that equipment was archaic. But it was the best stuff to learn, just the best. And even now, when I shoot stop motion, I shoot it all on iPhones, and it's still the same process. So it's a combination of analog and digital, because I'm doing it the traditional way, but using a tool that is more advanced, way more advanced than a Bolex camera, you know. So it's just the evolution of all this. And then all the software that I've worked with, you know, it's just... And even now, it's evolved to the point, you know, where, you know, now it's all text-based.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. It's amazing.
So what software did you start off with? And like, what are some of the major softwares that you've used in your career?
The software I started off with, well, just even before that, let me just preface this by saying that, the entirety of my career has been adaptation. When I finished Cal Arts, I did no computers at Cal Arts. It was all practical stop motion work. So my first job graduating, and this is a few months, I didn't like leave school and walk into a job. It's all hustle. It's just shameless hustle. But my first job was going to be on Mars Attacks. You know that film?
Yeah, I remember that.
Because at the time, it was all, was live action and stop motion. Because, Burton's a Cal Arts guy, he's a stop motion guy, all this stuff, Nightmare Before Christmas, So he's going to do Mars Attacks stop motion. And the work was fantastic because I had 3 meetings at Warner Brothers and meeting the animation team. And they'd show me all the footage. And so I was like, wow, I cannot wait. Oh my God, get my hands on these puppets and do this, like professionally, and I can get on a feature. I had 3 different start dates, never started. And then finally they said, it's not going to happen. They scrapped the entire stop motion production to do it digital.
Wow.
Because it was a time when Jurassic Park and Toy Story had come out, 93 and 94. And everybody wanted that new flavor, So I lost my job before I started the CG, the computer. I said, damn, no, I got to learn. I got to figure out how I'm going to learn this shit, how to learn software. Because computer animation is not learning computer science. Computer science is coding. That's writing the tools for artists to use. So what I had to learn was the software, the animation software, how to animate, how to wrap my head around getting off of a physical set and touching the puppets to doing it with a keyboard and a mouse, looking at a screen. So it's just a different discipline in terms of that. So I'd applied to some different studios who I knew were training animators because, like I say, this is the flood of this work was coming. So everybody, looking for, trained animators. And there were studios who were training artists, whether you're 2D or stop motion, to use computers, to learn software. And so I had gotten hits by Studio Rhythm and Hues, who were famous at the time for doing Babe. They won the Oscar for Babe, and they were the Coca-Cola polar bears. That was their thing. And Disney. So I go to R&H to do my interview. Great interview. It was very cool. Loved the people, everything. Just like the vibe of the studio, everything. The inclusion, all this stuff. It's like, man, this is really fucking cool. And, thinking first one, all this stuff, just see how this goes. And they offered me a job. Like, wow, okay, well, God, people believe in you, So, okay. So I accept the job. Then I get a call from Disney. Now, Disney at the time was famous for, you do a series of interviews at Disney. All these rounds and rounds of interviews, So, all right, well, I got a job now, but I'm going to go meet the people, see what it's about. And I knew I was going to be meeting with the recruiter, was bringing me in, but I knew I was going to be meeting with the director because it was for Dinosaur. So the director was Eric Layton, who was like animation soup on Nightmare Before Christmas. So, stop motion guys. Oh, okay, man, this going to be cool. I'm going to meet Eric and all that stuff. So, I get to meet him. He takes me around and show me everything, all this stuff, everything. This is really cool, So I'm leaving, I'm, like, okay, well, see, I'm back for round 2 or whatever. Well, I mean, going in my head, we won't be back for round 2. I'm going to be working over here. So I'm leaving, and a recruiter goes, Pamela, I remember Pamela at the time. So Pamela said, so when can you start? What?
Yeah.
She says, when can you start? I said, oh my God, well, I wasn't expecting this. I mean, I know who you guys are, I thought it'd be,
Like 20 interviews or something.
She said, no. It's like, we've seen your work. We know what you can do. Like, when, you're a stop motion guy. Eric, I can tell Eric likes you, all this stuff. I said, well, I I accepted a job at R&H. She's like, well, that's great, but whatever they are, we're just, we can do better. You know, you don't have to go there. I said, well, I you know, it's at that point now it's an integrity thing. I didn't want to accept the job, then decline it. You know what I mean? Because it's a reputation, it's integrity. So Pamela, I remember Pamela's word. Pamela was like, we understand, totally respect that. She said, but one day, just rest assured, you will work for us. I said, wow, okay. Disney, I mean, it's the big Disney balls, you know. But it was a matter, for me, it was a choice of working on one film for 3 years and not being able to just show anything from that until that film was released. Or going to a studio and working on a variety of things, commercials, features work, video game work, whatever it was. You know, special venue work, you know, like motion-based things, you know, in amusement parks. And so that's where I went, because the variety. And so the first piece of software I trained on was proprietary, because R&H wrote its own software. So they wrote everything in-house, the renderer, the animation package, the compositing thing, the whole shebang.
That's cool.
Yeah, they wrote it all. And so learning on that tool and learning, it took me probably about 6 weeks, however, like to really get up to speed, because I really approached it like, you know, it's not physical, but it's still 3D environment, work based on real world scale and all this stuff. So to me, it was just doing stop motion on a computer. And it was just the blast, just to see the possibilities of how much even further you could push your animation skills, you know, and just the practice. And so I just had the best time there. And like I said, just built a reel of commercial work. And then I remember the first feature I did was the Babe sequel. And it just ballooned from there, you know. And, you know, the people, and it was just cool, you know. And so, yeah, that's how it all started.
So that's kind of like the early 90s. And then I think when you get towards like the end, like the late 90s, that's when The Matrix came out, I believe. Yeah,
Matrix came out in 99. Yes. And so, I mean, everybody knows the hit that was. And
I remember I watched The Matrix in the movie theaters, and it was the first movie I've ever watched at that point where I thought my life would have changed after. Like, I watched that movie and I was like, the world has changed.
Right.
Like, you know, and you just feel like, wow, like things will never be the same again, because I think just the impact of the story and, you know, the way that it was shot and, you know, lots of things that you don't even notice that are going on in that. Like, you just come out a different person.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a really fun experience. It was. I remember Jeannie and I went to see him and was like, what the hell did we just sit through?
Yeah.
It was just awesome. And it was a lot of fun. And, you know, the whole story and the love story then it was cool. But then all the, you know, when you start to dissect it all, just all the things and, you know, and all this tech stuff and I mean, everything. It was just cool, you know. And so just having a whole relationship to that has been pretty special. So when the sequels came around, and this is how relationships work. One of the producers that I worked with at Rhythm and Hughes was one of the visual effects producers now on Reloaded and Revolutions. And I had done a few movies in between. I think the movie I was working on at the time was actually Scooby-Doo. I was an animation super on Scooby-Doo, you know, one of the sequence supervisors. And being it was a Warner Brothers picture, got a call from that producer saying, can you come up to the Bay Area and interview, you know, for Matrix Reloaded? And Revolutions, both of them, the sequels, we were doing them simultaneous. And I was like, what? And this was after also I had directed the PJs in between, because I would take hiatuses from R&H and go do other shows. And one of them was the PJs. So, and that was like 6 months commuting to Portland. And so I'd had that under my belt now, you know, and I'm not sure if it aired. Maybe it aired, I don't know. But I got the call. I was like, oh, Chet. So I just went up in the interview and got the job.
Wow.
Yeah. It was, yeah, so that was something else.
And was that something that was filmed remote? Did you have to move for that, for the Matrix trilogy?
I didn't move. No, as I said, I commuted. So it was in the Bay Area, so it was an easy
that
commute.
Was there.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was.
yeah.
We did. I spent I think about 2 months in Sydney on set. Shooting all the APU, the armored personnel unit stuff, because my sequence in both of those films was everything that happened in Zion. So the Sentinels, the Digger, and all the the robots and machine gun robots, APUs, and any digital humans within that. So I spent 2 months in Sydney shooting a lot of that stuff, and then back in the Bay Area doing all the final work, the final animation and all that stuff. And it was 18 months. And then so it was a long, I commuted for a while. It was a blast. So I'd go to, I'd leave work. Yeah, I'd Friday nights after work, I'd run to the airport. And then Monday morning, run to the airport in LA and go back and just go straight to work from the airport, straight to the studio.
Wow.
It was awesome.
The commuter life.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And then you also mentioned you commuted 4 years between LA and Vancouver.
Yeah. And that was on 4 different movies. That was, I'd gotten a 911 call to do Tree of Life.
I don't know. What's that movie?
Yeah, it's Terrence Malick picture. It won the Palme d'Or. And what year was this? I think I was gone, and I started doing that in 2000, I want to say 9? Yeah, it's 2009. So I went to do Tree of Life, all the dinosaur sequences in Tree of Life. When I was done with that, I would say, well, can you stay for another one? Because they all just, every time you get these things, even when I was in Australia for Happy Feet, because even there I was like 2 months. I was supposed to go for like a week or so. And every week the producer would come and just hand me a per diem. You're going to be here another week. You're going to be another week. So that turned into 8 weeks. That was that was another blast show. I loved working with George Miller. It was awesome. But one of the producers from The Matrix, when I was back at R&H, called and said, is Lyndon available? Send him to Australia to work with George for Happy Feet. So that's how all these relationships work. It was Ed Jones. And so that was an awesome experience. But where were we talking about? Oh, Vancouver. So after Tree of Life came Sucker Punch, Zack Snyder film, Sucker Punch. That was a blast. So there was this whole sequence. We did this whole bullet train sequence in Sucker Punch where women get on this train and fight these robots. Cool ass sequence. And we did this one seamless 2.5 minute shot where the camera's going everywhere, all these different angles, all around the women. So we had to transition from live action footage to digital women, because of all the stunts they were doing. And this camera was just nonstop. And Zach had shot the whole thing in slow motion.
Just to make things more difficult.
And was, the production kept promising that we'd get a retime to animate to, but never got the retime. So we animated this entire sequence in slow motion. Not only animation, but the effects to it. Everything, all the sparks and the bullets, everything in slow motion. The cloth, it's the sweat when they got everything. So I had animators working on like 25,000 frame shots.
Wow.
Yeah. But, they pulled it off. It was awesome. And then we did it, because even when you do that, and every time you get a note to tweak something, it goes through the pipeline. Everything's got to get re-rendered. He was killing us. But what I got to say, he was very collaborative. Working with, the VFX suits at the time, the whole team. He was very collaborative because every idea that we'd come up with, he was like, yeah, go for it, shoot, try, give it a shot.
Yeah.
It was just really cool, So there's a lot of times you'd come across people like that who just get their egos out of it and just want to just make cool stuff. And so that was fun. Then Sucker Punch turned into, but when they retimed it, it was just, it was just cool. And so it's funny now because seeing the latest Guardians, they literally redid that shot in the latest Guardians. So I just go, wow, okay, an homage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Sucker Punch, in the real movie, like, is that just seconds, that shot?
No. It was 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes?
The shot was 2.5 minutes. But animating it was, it was like I said.
Like a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so then after that one turned into The Thing at another studio, The Thing prequel, which was a blast to work on.
And what's The Thing?
The Thing is this creature that this creature that gets this alien creature that takes over its human host or whatever, humans or whatever. It just inhabits the host.
Is it like that old? There was an old sci-fi called The Thing. No?
Yeah. There's the one. There was the original one done in the 50s.
That's out in the snow.
And then
somewhere.
John Carpenter did one in 82.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, and so that's probably the one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
And then that was with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell.
And Kurt Russell and Keith David at the end facing off each other. And then, so in 2011 we did the prequel to that to show what happened to the team they found, the expedition they found. So that's what this was, yeah.
Okay, that's super fun.
It was a blast. It was creepy. Yeah. And that technical, just literally showing how the alien would take over a host and, everything about it. The animation.
Probably gave you nightmares.
But it was just a blast because working with the character animation team and then the technical animation team to have all these, the live action, the digital, the flesh and the skin come together and all that, and how we would do it was so much fun.
So when you're going to work on a project like that, are you literally in a dark room? What's the environment like?
No, it's the studios are dim, so the monitors shine. So that's why it's just for resolution, for screen resolution. But everyone has their cubicles or their workspace decorated with all kinds of cool stuff. It's like going to a playroom.
Yeah.
And so you're just going around, with the animators all day and then doing dailies and then watching how they're going through their shots, And one thing I always did was before I handed over any character to animators to do, I would work with the modelers and the character designers and modelers and the riggers to put the controls on it. So I would actually put it through a lot of its animation paces first to see what it could do before I handed it over. Because I always wanted to be that person that if an animator had trouble executing something, saying couldn't do it, I tried to show them how to do it first before I kicked it back. And most times I was able to do that. Say, no, you can't do it, just let me show you, and then we just go from there.
That's pretty cool.
So I always made a point that I could walk it if I was going to target. And then when I had assigned everything and there were some shots left over, I would actually take them also and do them while I was directing, but take them to do some animation myself, and have a little something of also in the film, that I did, yeah.
And
fun stuff.
And then so before all of that, Cal Arts, is that the thing that brought you to LA?
Yeah, Cal Arts is it, yeah.
And then so after you went to Cal Arts, you stayed here because...
Oh, the plan was to stay.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the plan.
And then, since then, like many years on, you've built quite a community for yourself here.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you are a director, an animator, like all of those things, but you're also a community facilitator, hub, magnet. Like, tell us a little bit about that and like.
Well, tell me about that. I don't know.
Well, I would say, your home, for example, is a home where creatives, artists, actors, people in and around and between all of those fields come together and hang out, enjoy each other, enjoy the beautiful art collection you have, I feel like it's just a safe creative space that you've made.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so can you tell us like how did that happen? Like,
Well, that's just Janine and I. I mean,
yeah.
Having a life partner like Janine, I mean, you know, so I don't get all choked up here. I mean, the life that we've built together, so weird. I mean, and this is how all this is related. Janine and I met on a blind date.
Oh, wow.
A blind date from a guy, Jerome Solomon, a buddy of ours, that was a mutual friend that I worked with at Rhythm and Hills. That's how far back that goes, 98. So, yeah, and we hit it off over a Harlem Renaissance exhibition at the LACMA, where we were driving around she was talking about this painting, just talking about that show, and talking about this painting, one of her favorite paintings in this show. And I said, oh, yeah, I know that painting. She's like, what you know what I'm talking about? I said, well, yeah, that sounds like Dance Time, Archibald Motley. And she thought I was bullshit, like I just wanted to get laid. I was like, no, I know the painting. Like I'm an artist. Like, and from that conversation, we just hit it off. We just knew we had a mutual love of something. And we've just built this life around art, her writing, and her career, and just mutually watching each other do, our thing. And the endless support. And then like the collection we've built and just the life. Yeah, it's just been, yeah. And so you just want to share that, you know what I mean? Because, yeah, you can live in a vacuum, but what's the point of that? You want to share that and surround yourself with cool people and people you love and, like yourself, and, yeah, it's just fun to have everybody come together and just hang out and just, because a lot of you guys meet each other, and just like, we all just become friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've definitely made a lot of friends at yours and collaborators now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so beautiful, the careers that you and Janine have had and, the amount of credits and kind of accolades that you've had between you is kind of insane. It's like you could be listing them all day. But at the end of the day, at the heart of it, you've created this community and this place where people can just come and meet people and feel safe and like enjoy good art. And you have one of the most incredible extensive art collections, which is a piece of art within itself, And so, talk a little bit about like what it means to be a custodian for all of this work and kind of how you've how both of you have gone about kind of really piecing it together and bringing it together.
We've always, from the start, even before we were married, when we'd hang out, even if it's in coffee shops and cafes and just little diners or whatever, we saw work that we just loved and we just bought it because it's just that thing. Buy what you love. If you see some things, because she had an incredible collection when we met. She had an outstanding, and still does, an outstanding collection of old black movie posters because she just loves that stuff. She collects it. And she had a few paintings also. And even when she came to my house, when we weren't living together, but she came to my house, she'd ask me, like, where's your artwork? You say you're an artist, but where's your artwork? I say, well, we don't generally hang our own work. I mean, I don't know. I don't, at least. I never exhibited my own work. And then a lot of it's miniatures. It's not like you're going to be able to see them anyway, So, but to prove it to her, I actually painted her. And I did drawings of her and stuff. She was like, oh, shit. So we just had that thing where we just always loved it and just always saw things that we wanted to have in the house and just live with because even to this day, we don't have a storage space all at work. There's one, we did renovation on our house and we had to put it somewhere. But other than that, there's not an art storage space because we literally like to live with and show everything that we acquire. Because we appreciate the art, we appreciate the artists, we want to support and the galleries, all this stuff. And it's a holistic thing, it's just being supporters and proponents and artists. The whole shebang, and we just love it, Yeah, and so it's just like, and it's inspiring to live with that, to walk around and just look at beautiful work all day. To be fortunate enough to have it, for one, but to actually have it inspire you to do work also,
So you hear that, folks? Collecting what you love, living with it, being surrounded with it, and no storage space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We just like, no, we just,
Yeah. And, I think that's an example of just, there's the art market and the art world, and a lot of people collect for the art market, and, they see it as a stock and they pull it away.
Right.
And there's such a benefit from art and with art and living with art. And like you say, you wake up and you're inspired by that every day.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people miss out on that when they collect for the wrong reasons. And, maybe those reasons are fine and right for them, but they can have so much more of an experience and kind of add to their surroundings when they live with it.
Yeah, and we put it everywhere, as you know. We have it on the ceilings.
Yeah.
We, your drawing was so big, we couldn't, there was, we had to put it on the ceiling. And it was, we met, that was the original plan. We actually draw it up there, but, we decided just to get the big drawing, and that's where, and it's so stunning up there. But we literally also in the bedroom sleep under butterflies. These butterflies that Roxy Perec did, and she took sugarcane and made paper out of them, and made paper butterflies, or hand painted each one. And it's like 84 butterflies on our ceiling in our bedroom that we sleep under. And just to wake up under those things, just look at them. It's like, because every time I look at them, I see something different. I see a pattern different. I see the edges different. And they've been there for years. But you just love it. You just never get over it.
Yeah.
And so, we go out downside, wherever, it's just everywhere. Because that's just how we've designed our life, Yeah.
So going back to when you were younger, you had that goal of wanting your name in a credit.
Yeah.
And overachieving. What are your goals now?
Damn, that's a good question. I just want to continue to do fun stuff, because I've not, because I even took a detour from feature films to do, and, co-founded a VR company for 5 years, and did that. And, I'm so glad we did it. I have no regrets, because even if the industry now has not, to this date, defined what it is, the virtual reality world, we took a shot at it, we rolled the dice, we did some cool stuff that we're proud of. And then after that, I just started to turn my attention more to my work, because, my son, Junior, you met him, right? Junior professor there, said...
So wait, so Junior, because he has the same name?
Yeah, Lynn Junior, yeah. He's a painting professor at Carnegie Mellon. He's been there for 3 years. But I didn't see that one coming. He's incredible. I mean, he and his wife are both incredible artists. But he told me years ago, he said, Dad, it's cool that you do all these movies and stuff. That's dope. But you're the only one on the planet doing what you do. These gum rappers and making people out and making films. So why don't you just keep doing that work? And since he said that, I've been in probably 7 museums. I've been in a bunch of gallery shows. I've sold pieces. I've made 6 films, 6 stop-motion films. And you just go, he was right. So it was the thing that I always planned to do. I got, by design and ambition, detoured into feature film work, but that is my art. And so... And not to say that I'm retired or put the film world aside, because I've actually co-written a thing with a director friend that I'm actually come full circle, that we're actually developing with Lily Wachowski. So it's cool to even be reconnected with, that team and Lily again, in the portion of what we did, years ago on Reloaded and Revolutions and even Speed Racer. One of the Wachowskis, one of the siblings, yeah. So I'm still have a foot in that world. And even spent a year at Epic, working with the Unreal Engine, because I do, all this virtual production stuff. But I get so much, all of that, as fun as that is, much as I love it, nothing beats what I do with my miniatures, because it's what got me here. I mean, honestly, who knew like this kid making toys out of gum like trash would get here? Like to even be sitting here talking to you. You know what I mean? So I will never, ever put that aside. And that is just the thing that's so personal to me because it's mine. And no one can tell me how to do it or what to do with it. It's all me. And even the work that I do, if it doesn't sell, I'm so happy to keep it.
Yeah. And you even made the miniature Shantell.
I did, yes. Yes, we collaborated. Like I animated you doing all these things. It's so much fun. I mean, but God, to make you, and then your hair and the jacket and put the words on it, and then composite your face on it. And, have you driving, a Formula One car and then on a motorcycle and on a one-wheel skateboard. That shit was so much fun. And you're drawing your lines. It was awesome. And then to Shantell's, Aja Monet's poetry. Oh my God, that Four Freedoms piece. That's one of the coolest pieces, man. I love that piece.
Beautiful
so
collaboration.
Much. Yes.
And so that's interesting, the words that your son said, and then going back to the teacher that says like, wow, this is very different and unique. Like you should be doing that.
Yeah.
And like those, every time you focused on that, great things have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just got to keep doing that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I am. I mean, I'm literally, before I came over here, I was getting caught up because I'm working on a piece now that involves hundreds of little people for a show that I'm in at the Hammer this fall, opening in September. So, I'm just going, I'm just having a blast.
Having a blast. And so ultimately, what do you think is the point of making art?
I think the point of making art, it's self-expression, it's cathartic, it's leaving some kind of legacy because, the art you make will outlive you, will outlive us all. It's telling stories, telling history. And it's passion. It's doing what you love. So, it pains me when so many people say, oh my God, I always wanted to be an artist, but, I was told, you'd be starving. You'll never be able to make a living at that. And I just go, wow, like you bought it. You bought it because art is such a vast umbrella. Like everything we interact with, and this is another thing John taught us and made us realize, everything you interact with, from when you wake up to go to bed, involves art. You just don't see it that way. I mean, there's, because when you say art, more people, you hustle work to be in a museum or show your work in galleries and try to sell your work. But there's production design, industrial design, graphic design. There's product design. There's you just name it, fashion design. The thermos that you're drinking out of.
Product design, yeah.
Buddy, it started on a drawing board. The chairs we're sitting in, the T-shirts we're wearing, everything started on a drawing board. Someone designed it. The spoon you eat with, you don't think about that stuff consciously, but that's what it is. If it did not start somewhere, it would not exist. And artists created it. And people just don't see that. And you just ask them, when people say that to me, say, why do you like that shirt you're wearing? Oh, because it's cool. I mean, I said, yeah, well, somebody designed that shirt. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. The socks you put on, it's just mind-blowing to me. So there are so many careers that you can make out of this. So it just pains me when people tell me that. Oh, I just never. Yes, you could. It's just, it's practice and it's skill and it's learning. It's learning a profession like anything else. I don't know a lot of God-given self-taught artists. I know a few, not to say it don't exist, because there are anomalies. It happens. But most of the artists that I've worked with on a professional level were trained. And when you go and see the movies or the TV or whatever we do, wherever platform you're watching content on, those are trained people a lot of them who put that stuff, make that content that you like, And, but even then, even the ones who are self-taught, when you look at them, that's all they do. You know what I mean? That's all self-taught art, because it's the passion and love and just the need to do that, to express themselves. Like it's nonstop. I'm telling you, I do something artistic every day. You know, whether it's sculpting a miniature, whether it's sketching on something, whether it's reading about art, whether it's looking at art, it's something artistic every day because you just don't turn it off. And I don't care how much technology, because that's always the other thing. Oh my God, tech is going to do this, going to do that. I've never seen a piece of tech since the beginning of time that stopped artists from creating. I've just never seen it. Because every time the naysayers say that, it just doesn't happen. Because artists will always have that innate need to create art. We just will do that. We'll find a way. Yeah. Yeah. And I got to tell you, that's one thing I love about you. When I first came across you in that magazine, and you simply just said, just do what you love. Just draw. Just make lines. Just all this. And I'm just going, the simple beauty of this, what she's describing and what she's doing. I said, I've got to know this person. I've just got to, because she's just like, fuck it. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm doing what I love. And look where it began. Like you can't deny that. You know? Yeah.
Lyndon, it's been such a pleasure.
This has been so much fun. I love talking to you. I always did.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's cool. It's been so much fun hearing a little bit more about all of the background and all of the things.
Yeah.
And I have 100 more questions, but we'll have you back on at some point.
Yeah. I know. We got so much more to talk about. Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Shantell.
Thank you for listening to this episode of What's the Point? Recorded at Spotify Studios in Los Angeles. Check out our website made by Eat.studio. Grant Alexander Peters does our theme music, engineering, and editing. Research and pre-show preparation are done by Vern Molidor and Joyce Adams-So from the Shantell Martin studio team. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving a nice 5-star review. Don't forget to check out the show description for more information on today's guest. And you can follow myself and the podcast on Instagram at Shantell_Martin. What's the point? Can I hear myself? Can I know myself? Can we be ourselves? Can we see ourselves? Can we go ourselves? Can we be ourselves? Can we see ourselves? Can we know ourselves? Can we be ourselves? Can we hear ourselves? Can we hear? Am I coming in clear? Clear. Am I coming in clear? Clear. Am I coming in clear? Can you really hear? Can you really hear? Hear me, know me, see me. Are you? Are we on the back of the bus, back of the train, back of the car, back of this life, back of the sea, back as the room, back as the room, back as the room. I'm the room, you're the room, we're the room, what's the room? It's the room, you're the room, make room, our room, we room, your room, see room. Get out of the way. Get out of this place. Get gone.